At the party, Zach picked a dare card, make out with someone you like for 2 minutes. As everyone cheered, he stood up and walked toward me. We hadn't been talking for weeks, and I was so nervous and shy that I closed my eyes. But Zach just leaned close to my ear and laughed mockingly. "You thought I'd kiss you, Jenny. Sorry, I'm already bored of you." Then he turned and kissed the pretty freshman girl instead. In that moment, I suddenly didn't want him anymore. The next day, I applied to schools abroad and accepted an arranged marriage my family had suggested. On his birthday, I flew to another country without looking back. But as soon as my plane landed, my phone exploded with calls from him. Chapter 1. Zach was a little tipsy when he drew the dare card. Our nosy friend picked up the paper and read it out loud on purpose. Make out with someone you like for 2 minutes. Everyone immediately looked at me and started teasing us. Zach had specially arranged this party tonight. We hadn't been talking for over a month. Before, I was always the one who gave in first when we fought. But this time, I was stubborn for some reason. I just wouldn't back down. I thought we'd keep avoiding each other. But surprisingly, Zach called me today. I was nervous, my fingers unconsciously gripping my skirt tight. Zach stood up. The girl sitting next to me nudged me playfully. "Jenny, your boyfriend's coming to kiss you." My heart fluttered with joy as I looked up at Zach. He was wearing the white shirt I loved, his collar slightly messy. Through the haze of alcohol, his eyes looked especially tender as he gazed at me. My cheeks burned as I looked down, gripping my skirt even tighter. My palms were all sweaty. When I looked up again, Zach was right in front of me. "Jenny." Zach bent down. His voice was extra gentle with the touch of alcohol. I was so nervous and shy that I didn't know what to do. When he leaned in to kiss me, I closed my eyes in panic. Chapter 2. But the kiss I was waiting for never came. Instead, I felt his hot breath on my ear, along with a quiet, mocking laugh. "You wanted me to kiss you. It's been a month without touching you. Are you that desperate, Jenny?" My eyes flew open. Zach had straightened up. His thin lips curved in a cold smirk. Looking down at me, his eyes held only distance and contempt. In that moment, I felt all my blood rush to my head. But my hands and feet were ice cold and shaking. I sat there frozen, watching in shock as he turned away. In the stunned silence of the room, he took the pretty freshman's hand. "May I?" I knew she had always liked him. She had shown her interest many times. Before, when I got jealous, he casually said he wasn't interested in her. But now, after she nodded shyly, he didn't hesitate to kiss her. 2 full minutes, not a second less. After the makeout session, he even reached up to touch her swollen lips, wiping away the trace of their kiss from the corner of her mouth. Chapter 3. The girl sitting next to me looked at me with sympathy and sadness. Zach gave me a cold glance. He went back to his seat and grabbed a bottle. "Why's everyone so quiet?" "That was fun, let's keep playing." Someone tried to smooth things over. "Zach, no more drinking, you're drunk." "Yeah, Zach, Jenny's about to cry, go comfort her." Zach leaned back in his chair lazily. "Why should I comfort her? She's still your girlfriend. You went too far just now." "Who says she's my girlfriend?" Zach's mocking smile grew colder. "Didn't we break up a month ago?" I looked down and couldn't help but give a small laugh. "Jenny, are you okay?" The girl next to me held my hand. I shook my head. "I'm fine. I'm leaving, you guys keep playing." I stood up and walked toward the door. I heard the freshman girl's sweet voice. "Is she angry?" "Who cares? Zach told people to open more drinks. Let's keep drinking." "Zach, Jenny seems really upset this time." I didn't stop, just opened the door and left. Zach's tired voice came from behind. "Not my problem. She gets really upset every time. Doesn't she always come crawling back begging to get back together? So do you want to get back together with her?" The closed door cut off all sound. I didn't hear his answer, but it didn't matter to me anymore. Chapter 4. Before, because I was dating Zach, I chose to stay and go to grad school here. But now, studying abroad suddenly seemed like a good idea. I spent some time cleaning out all my stuff from Zach's apartment and took it back to my dorm. I hadn't told anyone about my plans to study abroad yet. Life got busy, there was so much to prepare. Gradually, I thought about Zach less and less. Until that day when I ran into him and his friends at the cafeteria. He still had a young, pretty girl by his side, but it wasn't the same freshman as last time. "Jenny, long time no see. Join us for lunch?" His friend greeted me with a smile. I just smiled politely. "No thanks, I'm with my roommates." "Alright, well, we're meeting at the usual place tonight, you should come." I glanced at Zach instinctively. His expression was cold, showing no emotion. But he didn't interrupt his friend either. My heart was perfectly calm as I shook my head. Not tonight, I have other plans. Why so much talking about eating? Zach suddenly shot his friends a cold look and just walked away. His friend apologized to me awkwardly. I waved it off and left too. When I got back to my dorm building after lunch, I ran into Zach and his new girlfriend again. The girl had her arms around his neck, kept standing on tiptoe trying to kiss him. Zach's face showed hints of irritation. I walked past without looking at them, about to enter the building. But Zach suddenly called out, "Jenny." Chapter 5. I paused for a moment but didn't stop. Zach called again, "Jenny, I'm talking to you, didn't you hear?" He pushed away the girl in front of him and walked right up to me. "Need something?" I looked at him calmly. "Yes." "Okay, what is it?" Zach's girlfriend followed, pressing close to him and giving me hostile looks. "Those cakes you used to buy me, which store were they from?" Zach lazily put an arm around his girlfriend, looking down at me. "My girlfriend loves cake too, I want to buy her some. I made them myself." My gaze stayed calm. "If she wants them, I can send her the recipe." Zach frowned. "Never mind that, how about you make 2 for me? I'll pay you, of course." I smiled slightly. "Sorry, I don't have time." "Is it that you don't have time, or you don't want to?" Zach gave me a mocking look, jealous. Suddenly I found the whole thing completely pointless. I didn't want to argue or waste words on such pointless things. "Think whatever you want." I walked past him and hurried into my dorm building. As soon as I got to my room, my roommate pulled me to the window. Down below, Zach was arguing with his new girlfriend. Soon he impatiently pulled away from her and drove off. The girl stood there crying for a while before leaving dejectedly. My roommate couldn't help commenting, "Jenny, I think Zach still likes you. Is he doing this on purpose to make you give in first?" I laughed and poked her forehead. "Stop reading those CEO romance novels, they're messing with your head." Chapter 6. Because I liked Zach, I had firmly refused the arranged marriage my family suggested before. Now that they learned I was going abroad, they brought it up again. "Uncle, can I think about it some more?" "Sure, you want to continue studying now, so marriage isn't urgent. Just meet him before you go abroad, you should like the person." "Okay." This time I didn't refuse their kindness. My 2 uncles loved me dearly. After Mom died and Dad remarried, they became the people who cared about me most in this world. That evening I had dinner with my best friend. I told her about my plans to study abroad. While I was in the bathroom, Zach called. "Jenny, where are your things?" I took them back to my dorm. Zach's voice was emotionless. "Since you moved out, take everything. My girlfriend's coming over tonight, she's unhappy seeing your stuff." "Sorry, just throw it away then." "Fine, I'll throw it out. Don't regret it later." He hung up. I stared at my confused reflection in the mirror. I couldn't understand what he meant. I didn't want him anymore, so why would I care about his gifts? Chapter 7. I agreed to meet the guy before going abroad, as my uncle suggested, but I never expected the person who showed up would be Alex Gu, someone I had to respectfully call Uncle Alex. My friend was shocked too, clutching my hand and whispering excitedly, "Jenny, your blind date is Alex Gu." I automatically sat up straight, my face turning red. I didn't know it was him. "Oh my god, Jenny, I'm freaking out, I need to escape to the bathroom." My friend let go of my hand. Before Alex even reached us, she jumped up. "Mr. Gu, I need to use the bathroom." She even gave a polite little bow. But after a few steps, she disappeared like a rabbit. "Uncle Alex." I greeted him softly, suddenly afraid to look at him directly like before. Alex sat down across from me. "What would you like to eat?" "Anything is fine, I'm not picky." Alex ordered several dishes, asking, "Is this okay?" Looking at the menu, they were all things I usually liked. I was surprised and couldn't help glancing at him. In my memory, he was always this dignified, distant man with an aura of authority. Today he was dressed more casually, which made him seem less intimidating. But I was still nervous, answering quietly, "Yes, it's fine." After the waiter took our menus and left, Alex suddenly asked, "Jenny, are you afraid of me?" I nodded instinctively, then quickly shook my head in panic. In the past when I saw him, it was only from afar with my uncles. During family gatherings, I just stood quietly to the side, never joining conversations. He wasn't that old, just from an older generation. Actually, he was only 27 this year. "So what do you think of me?" I was caught off guard. Alex smiled. "Don't be nervous, take your time to answer." I took a deep breath. "Uncle Alex." "Jenny, you can call me Alex." I dug my nails into my palm, and after a while, softly said, "Alex, I'm going abroad to study for at least 2 years. "That's fine. If you're willing, we can get engaged first." "Why?" I was confused. He could choose anyone he wanted for marriage. And I was just a lonely girl whose mother died early and whose father remarried, barely having a family at all. Alex handed me a glass of juice. His fingers were long and strong, graceful against the glass like fine jade. I found myself staring. He put down the glass and gently touched my head. Jenny, I don't want to scare you. So let's keep this secret for now. Chapter 9. 3 days before I left the country, Alex and I got engaged quietly. The day before I left, Zach suddenly called me. Jenny, tomorrow's my birthday. I responded half-heartedly while packing. You know where? Zach's voice still had that lazy tone. I'm giving you a chance here. Take it or leave it. Before I could process this, he hung up. My uncle knocked on the door. Jenny, Mr. Gu is here to take you to dinner. I quickly answered, closing my suitcase. I had already forgotten about Zach's call. Since I had a long flight the next day, Alex didn't keep me out too late. He had some wine with dinner. When I was getting out of the car, he suddenly caught my wrist. Jenny. Alex pulled me closer with a gentle tug. He smelled of rich wine. So close that elegant scent of dark wood and cedar enveloped me completely. Unlike Zach's proud, arrogant young master attitude, Alex had a completely different, mature masculine presence. I felt dizzy for a moment, until Alex bent down and gave me a soft kiss. Get some rest. I'll take you to the airport tomorrow. As he spoke, he reached out and gently touched my lips. While I was feeling shy and flustered, Alex whispered in my ear, "Our sweet Jenny, you really live up to your name." Chapter 10. At 7 that evening, all his friends had arrived. There was an empty seat next to Zach. He hadn't brought a date. His friends understood. That seat was saved for Jenny. After all this time, they could see clearly. Zach still had feelings for Jenny. He was just too proud, always wanting others to give in first. After tonight, you two should stop this. Why torture yourself? You walk around looking like we all owe you $1 million. When Jenny comes, treat her well and give her a proper apology. Zach glanced carelessly at the door. No way. I'm already giving her a chance to make up. You're impossible. It's getting late. Why isn't Jenny here yet? Did you tell her about this, Zach? Zach checked his watch. She'll come if she wants to. I'll go look outside. Zach didn't stop them. He stood up and walked to the window. It was getting dark outside as he looked down. Cars came and went, but he didn't know if the one he was waiting for would be among them. Somehow, Zach thought back to his birthday last year. Back then, things were good between him and Jenny. She had given him a belt and cufflinks that he wore almost every day, and the diamond earrings he gave her on her birthday. She used to wear them daily too, but that day she left them at his apartment, didn't take them with her. For some reason, Zach felt a strange heaviness in his chest. Just then, someone suddenly pushed open the door, shouting happily, "Zach, she's here, she's here." He turned around quickly, feeling the weight on his heart instantly lift. He knew very well how much Jenny liked him. He just knew she would come tonight. And when she did, this time he would swallow his pride and apologize first. Chapter 11. Zach leaned against the windowsill, still with that casual, relaxed pose, as if he didn't care at all who was coming in, as if his heart wasn't full of hope. But his arm on the windowsill was tense. His fingers had somehow clenched tight without him noticing. A huge surprise is coming right up. The person who came in was super excited and everyone's mood lifted. A faint smile seemed to appear on Zach's lips. He lowered his eyes and said carelessly, "Same thing every year, what kind of surprise could it be? This time is totally different." Zach's face showed no emotion, but inside, his heart was starting to ripple with excitement. What surprise would Jenny have for him? His friends were right. He had really gone too far. That day he just lost his head and kissed another girl right in front of her. But he regretted it right after kissing that freshman. If Jenny had shed even one tear then, he would have apologized immediately. But she didn't, she just quietly left. Since then he'd been acting out, constantly changing girlfriends. Jenny must have been really hurt. But even so, she still thoughtfully prepared a birthday surprise for him. Suddenly a thought formed in Zach's mind. This was it. She was the one. He would drop his usual careless attitude and have a proper relationship with Jenny. His friend came over, nudged him, and said quietly, "Stop being so stuck up." For once, Zach dropped his arrogance and just said, His friend was surprised. "You really know you were wrong?" Zach smiled, "I really do. Oh my god, I never thought I'd see this day. What I did before was totally messed up." As Zach spoke, he looked at his friend very seriously. "I've made up my mind. I'm going to settle down now, be good to Jenny, and stop making her angry." His friend looked pleased. "Should have done this earlier, Jenny's going to be so happy." It's not too late. Just as Zach finished speaking, two waiters pushed in a huge pink box tied with ribbon. Zach froze. His friend laughed and pushed him forward. Hurry up and open it. See what surprise Jenny prepared for you. His heart started beating faster and faster. But he also felt strangely nervous, like coming home after a long time away. Even though he was used to parties and socializing, had seen it all. Now his palms were sweating with nerves. Would Jenny be inside? Was her surprise that she was giving herself to him as a gift? Chapter 12. All these thoughts were swirling in Zach's head. He and Jenny had dated for over 2 years. Sometimes when she studied too late for her grad school entrance exams, she would stay at his off-campus apartment. But they had never taken that final step. He had actually been unhappy about this. Most of their fights were about this issue. He remembered their worst fight. Jenny cried so heartbrokenly, and he wouldn't even try to comfort her. All he could think about was his own frustrated desires. But now, Zach finally understood. Jenny had no mother, and her father had remarried and started a new family with kids, ignoring her. If he really cared about her, loved her, he would have understood her insecurities, given her promises, made things official, helped her feel secure. Zach suddenly made up his mind. Why not tonight? He would propose to her. As he thought this, his wildly beating heart suddenly calmed down. As if deep inside, he had always been waiting for the moment to make this decision. His friends crowded around, pushing him toward the huge pink box. He reached out and untied the ribbon bow. The box lid opened immediately, and as colorful heart-shaped balloons floated out, a girl wearing a pink ribbon top and matching short skirt jumped up among the floating balloons, happily shouting, "Zach, surprise!" A wave of perfume hit him as her soft body jumped into his arms, hugging his neck tight. Then she hung her whole body on him. Before Zach could react, the girl planted a big kiss on his face. "Happy birthday, Zach. Are you surprised? Didn't expect this, did you?" The girl tilted up her pretty face, looking at him with pure joy. Zach stood there motionless, just staring at the girl in his arms. For a moment he was confused and dazed. When did Jenny become so forward and enthusiastic? When did Jenny's face become so unfamiliar, so annoying? For a full 30 seconds, he slowly came back to his senses. When the girl stood on tiptoes trying to kiss him again, he suddenly pushed her away hard. "Zach!" The girl almost fell, stamping her foot in hurt feelings. The bright lights fell on her face. On her ears, 2 diamond earrings flashed brilliantly. The sight stabbed Zach's eyes. He stepped forward and grabbed the girl's arm, his handsome face twisted almost grotesquely. "Who told you to wear these earrings? Who gave you permission?" The girl's face went pale with fear. "You said these things were annoying and told me to throw them away. But I thought they were pretty, so I couldn't bear to take them off." The girl stood there stunned, not reacting. Zach stared at her coldly, his grip gradually tightening. "Either you take them off, or I'll do it myself." The room was deathly quiet except for the girl's growing sobs. She took off the earrings with trembling hands and threw them at Zach, crying as she shouted at him, "Zach, I want to break up." "Break up?" Zach clutched the earrings tightly and laughed. "Were we ever dating? Did I ever say you were my girlfriend?" The girl froze, tears streaming down her face. "But you dated me, took me home, you kissed me and held me. So what?" Zach smiled cruelly. "I've kissed lots of girls. Are they all my girlfriends?" "Zach, you jerk. You're right, I am a jerk. So, can you get lost now?" Blood slowly seeped from Zach's clenched fist. The earrings had cut into his palm, but he gripped them tighter, refusing to let go. The pain was making him more clear-headed. Jenny wasn't coming to celebrate his birthday, and he had been foolishly waiting for her to bring him a birthday surprise. Chapter 13. The long flight finally ended. It was sunset when I arrived in the foreign country. Back home it would be 3 or 4 in the morning. As soon as I turned on my phone, messages flooded in. It took a while before my phone finally quieted down. When I checked, almost all of them were messages and missed calls from Zach. I frowned, surprised. This wasn't like Zach at all. When we weren't talking before, if I didn't give in first, he would never reach out to me. Oh wait, he did once just to humiliate me in front of everyone. Now when I think back to that night, it feels like it happened in another lifetime. I smiled and pushed those unpleasant memories away. My phone suddenly started ringing again. It was Zach again. I didn't answer, and he called a second time. Zach and I didn't have any deep hatred between us. His family did a lot of business with my uncles. I never planned to cut all ties with Zach. We could just go back to being casual acquaintances who didn't bother each other. But now it seemed he didn't want that. And I was engaged now. I needed to keep appropriate boundaries with other men. I hung up and blocked his number. A moment later, a friend called. I didn't answer that either. They quickly sent a message. Jenny, please pick up the phone. Yesterday was Zach's birthday, you didn't come, and he drank all night. He's still getting in for at the hospital. We can all see he really regrets it this time. Jenny, please give him one more chance. I gripped my phone, looking at the car Alex had sent to pick me up waiting nearby. Thinking of Alex's goodbye hug made me feel warm inside. He said he would fly out to see me every month. He told me to focus on my studies, said he would wait patiently until I finished, promised I would never hear any gossip about him while I was abroad. Thinking of Alex always gave me this inexplicable sense of security. No more constant worry and insecurity. I thought for a moment, then replied to my friend, "We've broken up. Please don't tell me anything about him anymore, thanks." After replying, I locked my phone and put it in my bag. The person Alex arranged came to help with my luggage. The driver opened the door for me and said respectfully, "Miss Jenny, Mr. Gu has arranged everything. Let's take you home now." The car drove through the foreign streets. I looked curiously at the scenery outside. Everything was new and full of hope. Suddenly I felt so excited about my new life ahead. Chapter 14. After I replied to my friend that day, Zach never called or messaged again, and I quickly forgot everything about him, throwing myself completely into my new life and studies. A month later, Alex came to visit as promised. For some reason, even though it had only been a month, when we met again, I felt strangely shy, even though at the airport when I left, he had hugged and kissed me. But now seeing him again, I was too shy to even look at him. Just before dinner started, Alex suddenly stood up and moved from across the table to sit beside me. I instantly tensed up, sitting perfectly straight, hands on my knees, like a well-behaved schoolgirl. "Jenny." Alex gently took my hand. My palm was warm and slightly sweaty, but Alex held on tight. "How come after just a month apart you're scared of me again?" I couldn't answer that strange, subtle feeling was impossible to describe. Should I start visiting twice a month instead? I quickly turned to look at him, but the moment I turned, Alex bent down and kissed me. "Jenny, I've missed you so much this month." His voice was low and a little husky between kisses. I instinctively tried to pull away, but he held my waist, wouldn't let me move. The kiss wasn't too deep. Like the previous times, it didn't make me uncomfortable or feel rushed. Instead, a happiness grew in my heart until I could barely breathe. It felt like someone was stirring honey and ice in my chest with a silver spoon. Sweetness rippled through me like waves. Without realizing, I had grabbed his sleeve tight, creating deep wrinkles in the fabric. Only when the waiter came did Alex end the kiss. My face felt hot, I must have been bright red. But after that, I wasn't shy or nervous around Alex anymore. Once after having some wine, I even got brave enough to tease him. "Alex, being with you feels so comfortable, so safe." "How so?" I rested my chin on my hand, looked at him for a while, then suddenly giggled. "Well, being with you feels like being with my uncles. So relaxed, so comfortable, like I'm still a kid." Alex raised an eyebrow. "You are still a kid. Jenny, at your age, you should be carefree and unburdened." He stroked my head. "Keep being a kid from now on. At least when you're with me, you can always be like this." "Why?" I looked at him confused, asking that question again. "Why me? Why get engaged to me? Why be so good to me?" After Mom died, I understood something. Most people in this world care most about their own benefit. Whatever they do, they first consider what's in it for them. But I had thought about it carefully. Apart from the inheritance Mom left me, I had nothing that anyone would want. And that inheritance meant nothing to someone like Alex. "Jenny, I'll tell you on our wedding day." Alex kissed my forehead and helped adjust my scarf. "Jenny, you're drunk. Let's go home." "Okay, Alex, let's go home." Chapter 15. 3 days after Alex went back home, I had just left the university library when I saw Zach. The morning mist had cleared, the sun was high, but it was still cold. Even in my coat and scarf, I could feel the chill everywhere. But Zach stood under a tree wearing just a thin jacket. He seemed thinner. Maybe because of the long flight, he looked tired too. But he was still striking, still eye-catching. Even on this foreign campus, he was drawing attention from passers-by. I paused for a moment, then continued walking with my books. When I passed him, I didn't look up or acknowledge him. But Zach called out to me. "Jenny." He stepped forward, blocking my path. I don't know how long he had been standing there. The mist had dampened his hair and eyes. "I've been looking for you for so long." I smiled slightly. "Do you need something? Why did you suddenly decide to study abroad? Why didn't you even tell me?" If it's because of that truth or dare game, Jenny, I can apologize. Zach grabbed my arm. I stepped back, pulling my hand away. It's all in the past. And honestly, I don't care about it anymore. Zach frowned. Then why did you go study abroad? That was my own choice. He looked at me, frowning deeper. Fine, you're already abroad, that can't be changed. I'll just fly out to see you more often. I was surprised. Fly out more often? I'm the man, of course I should make the effort to visit you. Wait. I cut him off. Zach, you don't need to visit me. You have no obligation to, and I don't want you to. Jenny, so you're still angry, aren't you? If you're still upset, why say it's all in the past? I almost laughed in frustration. Zach, how much clearer do I need to be? I say it's in the past because I don't care about what happened anymore, and I don't care about you. Get it? What do you mean? We broke up a long time ago. I looked at him calmly. Zach, do you understand now? Chapter 16. I don't know if Zach was too proud, or if I hadn't been clear enough. He didn't go back home. Instead, he waited for me at school every day. At first I ignored him, treated him like he didn't exist. But after just 2 days, rumors started spreading around campus. Everyone was talking about my handsome Asian boyfriend. I worried the news would spread and reach Alex, that it would upset him. After thinking it over, I decided to have a proper talk with Zach. But before I could speak, Zach pulled out a ring. Jenny, I know what you want. You just want to get married, want security, right? He grabbed my hand, trying to put the ring on my finger. Let's get engaged first, then we can get married whenever you want. Is that good enough? I yanked my hand back and the ring fell on the table. The diamond was huge and sparkly. I won't deny, when I liked him most, I had dreamed of this day. But after all the silent treatments, all the fights about sleeping together, all the heartbreak over other girls, and finally, watching him kiss that freshman, any love or hope I had for him had completely vanished. Zach, I just wanted to tell you again. We're broken up. Go home and don't come looking for me anymore. Zach suddenly seemed angry. Jenny, you've played this game long enough. I won't force you to do anything you don't want anymore. You want marriage, I agreed. What else do you want? Zach, I'm already engaged. I looked at him with complete calm. So please stop bothering me, okay? Zach stared at me for a long while, then suddenly laughed. Stop joking, Jenny. Who are you engaged to? Who could you possibly be engaged to? We just had a fight, didn't talk for a few days, and you got engaged to someone else. Zach looked at me. Since when did you become so casual about these things? Believe it or not, I've told you everything clearly. If you keep harassing me at school, I'll call the police. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. But Zach grabbed my wrist. Jenny, then tell me, who are you engaged to? He gripped so hard I almost stumbled. We dated for 2 years. Even if we broke up and you found someone new, I should at least check him out, right? You don't need to. Is it that I don't need to, or that there isn't anyone? Nice, you've learned my old tricks trying to make me jealous. I really thought he was sick in the head. Zach, I'm not as petty as you. Then tell me who your fiancé is. You really want to know? Of course. My ex is engaged. How could I not be curious? I pointed to a business magazine on a nearby newsstand. Alex was on the cover. It's him. Zach looked where I pointed and laughed. Jenny, at least make up something believable. That's Alex Gu. Even my dad has to bow his head to him. I told you, it is him. Believe it or not. Zach's expression relaxed, his smile growing. Okay, stop messing around, Jenny. Let's make up and go back to how we were before, okay? I looked at him tiredly, feeling it would be even more ridiculous to keep explaining. I just turned and walked away without another word. Zach was about to follow me out, but his phone suddenly rang. After a brief conversation, his face changed, and he quickly left. I was confused but extremely relieved. After Zach left, those rumors quickly disappeared too. Alex's daily calls and video chats with me stayed completely normal. Finally, I could relax completely. Looks like those silly rumors hadn't reached his ears. Chapter 17. Months passed one after another. Alex kept visiting twice a month without fail, and Zach hadn't come back since that time, though he did try calling me from friends' phones sometimes. But I hung up as soon as I heard his voice. As spring came, my birthday was approaching. Missing my uncles, I went back home with Alex for a visit. At the family dinner, Alex suddenly told my uncles he wanted us to get our marriage license. I was a bit surprised, but my uncles were very happy. I felt no resistance at all, and seemed quite happy too. We decided to get the license on my birthday, and slowly start preparing for the wedding. The night before getting our license, I went out with my closest girlfriends. Alex said I could stay out all night with my friends while I was still unmarried. After tomorrow's license, no more staying out all night. During dinner, we happened to run into some friends from Zach's circle. Later, when my girlfriends and I went to this super popular new club, I saw Zach as soon as I got out of the car. He was leaning against a car, staring at me without blinking. The early spring wind in the city was still cold. I hugged my coat tighter around my neck. I walked past him without a glance. Zach didn't call out to me either. My friends and I don't really like noisy places like this. So after a short while, we were ready to leave, planning to find a quiet lounge for tea and chat. But just as I stood up, Zach called out to me, "Jenny, since you're back, don't go back to France." I found it unbelievable and absurd. I tried to walk around him to leave, but Zach blocked my way again. I didn't throw away these earrings. He opened his palm, revealing the still sparkling diamond earrings. When I first got this birthday gift, I was so happy but also somehow sad. Still, I wore them every day, never took them off. But when I decided to let go completely, I left these earrings at his apartment, didn't take them with me. I've been thinking a lot these days. You were right not wanting to sleep together before marriage. You were right not wanting to give in during our last fight. I shouldn't have tried to hurt you on purpose. But Jenny, all of this was because I still like you, still care about you. Zach pointed to his tie, then showed me his cufflinks. See, I wear the things you gave me every day. Jenny, we dated for 2 years, not 2 days or 2 months. I know you still care deep down, don't you? I was completely sick of his words. I understood perfectly well. He was just too used to getting his way, too high and mighty. He'd never wanted something he couldn't get, and never had something only to lose it later. That's why he couldn't accept it, why he kept stubbornly hanging on. His talk of caring and love was too cheap. But I'm getting my marriage license tomorrow. Zach, you need to move on too. Jenny, you can be angry, you can even get engaged out of spite. But marriage is serious. Don't ruin your life just to get back at me. I pushed his hand away hard. Zach, you're not that important. You stopped being important a long time ago. I looked at him seriously one last time. Zach, I wouldn't joke about marriage just to spite someone who doesn't matter anymore. It was the first time I'd seen that expression on Zach's face. He was always so above it all, casual and unbothered about everything. Even when I cried and said we should break up, at most he'd frown and irritably go smoke. But now he just stood there. Those eyes that had charmed so many girls were completely empty. But whether he was hurting or sad, and how long that would last, had nothing to do with me anymore. Chapter 18. The day Alex and I got our marriage license, we went to our new home together. Some things happened naturally, just as they should. My uncles completely approved of my marriage to Alex. And Alex had carefully followed all the traditional steps. Because he took everything so seriously, my uncles went from worried to totally accepting. That's when I learned the truth. After Mom died, when Dad wanted to remarry. The reason I inherited everything so smoothly was because Alex had helped behind the scenes. Without him, even with my uncle's help, it would have been much harder. The heating in the house was on high. While Alex was drying my hair, maybe because we were so close or because of the warm air, my back was slightly sweaty and my face felt hot. Alex, can you tell me why now? He turned off the hairdryer and bent to whisper in my ear, I'll tell you after the wedding night. Alex. I glared at him in the mirror. After that, it'll be too late to change my mind. You want to change your mind? If you can't give me a good answer. My voice got quieter and quieter, because Alex had wrapped his arms around my waist from behind and kissed me deeply. This kiss was different from his usual gentle, brief ones. It was powerful and intense. I felt like all the oxygen had been pulled from my body. My tongue went numb and my legs felt too weak to stand. Alex simply picked me up and set me on the dresser. He parted my legs and brushed the messy hair from my face. When he kissed my earlobe, my whole body trembled. Little bumps rose on my neck like electricity running through me. But his warm hand held me close. What do you want, Jenny? Want to cancel the marriage? Or sneak away? As he spoke, he kissed the most sensitive spot on my neck. I pushed against his chest, trying to escape but having nowhere to go. Finally he bent down to kiss my swollen lips again. Remember when I said I was afraid of scaring you? Yes. I mumbled, but as soon as I opened my mouth, he kissed me deeper. I couldn't help clutching his robe, my whole body shaking. I first saw you when you were 16. At 16, my mom was still alive. I stared at him, suddenly teary-eyed. He held me close, gently stroking my back. You were underage then, I could only wait. Then your mom passed away before you were even 18. I remember now. You came to Mom's funeral. I pressed against his chest, tears falling. You told me to take care, not to cry myself sick. You grew up, became an adult, but the timing still wasn't right. Jenny, I still had to wait. Alex held my face, wiping away my tears one by one. That's when I remembered how my uncles would sometimes mention setting up dates for me back then. But I had just lost my mom and was so young. I wasn't interested in any of that at all. But I never expected you'd go to college and fall for another guy. I had terrible thoughts about stealing you away. But seeing you happy with him, I gave up on that idea. 2 whole years, Jenny. I'd never suffered like that before. Alex looked down at me. His fingers traced my eyebrows, my eyes, every inch of my face, finally touching the corners of my eyes where tears were falling. Don't cry, Jenny. Alex, so when you said you were afraid of scaring me, was it because you've liked me since I was 16? Alex didn't answer. The truth was far more complicated, but he couldn't tell Jenny about those hidden, forbidden feelings. She had appeared in his dreams countless times, and in those dreams he had done many inappropriate things. But now the dream had become reality. She was truly in his arms. Yes, I used to hate myself for being so base. I even went to see a therapist privately. But isn't it normal for teenagers to have secret crushes? But I was 6 years older than you, Jenny. At her age, she might have only dreamed of pure love. But at his age, he already had intense desire for the girl he liked. I looked at him troubled. True, you are 6 years older. My friend says men start going downhill at 25, and you're already 28. But before I could finish, Alex suddenly picked me up. The world spun, and I fell onto the soft bed, surrounded by his solid, warm body. Jenny, seeing is believing. Why don't you look, touch, feel for yourself before deciding? He took my hand, guiding it downward. My eyes went wide as I stared at him. Alex. He seemed amused by my expression. How's that for 28? I tried to pull my hand back, but he held it firmly. He leaned down, his burning kiss falling on my lips again. Jenny, don't cry later. I won't go easy on you even if you do. But he did go easy on me. Just like that year at my mom's funeral, when I cried so much I completely softened his heart. And now, when just one tear fell as I lay beneath him, he stopped, held me close, and comforted me for a long, long time. That night felt endless, like dawn would never come. But the next day felt so short, because when I opened my eyes, it was already afternoon. The moment I woke up, Alex bent down to kiss me. Time to get up, or your uncles will be upset. I smiled with my eyes closed, reaching up for a hug. He bent down and lifted me up. Our Jenny, you really live up to your name, so soft and sweet. Do you like that? I bravely looked at him, then lost my nerve and buried my face in his chest. Alex carried me steadily toward the bathroom. After a while, he finally answered. Like it. Love it. He had always liked it. Had liked it for so long. Even when I had no idea whether I was sad or happy. There was always someone caring about my feelings. I don't know what the future holds. But in this moment, this instant, I feel completely happy, completely content. Chapter 19. On my wedding day with Alex, Zach's parents came. But Zach didn't. When I saw Mr. and Mrs. Joe, there was some awkwardness. But I never held what happened between Zach and me against his parents. After all, when we were dating, they had been nice to me. Even though I knew they weren't completely happy about me. But Alex's attitude toward them was a bit cold. They looked quite nervous. Zach once said his dad had to bow his head to Alex. Indeed, the Joe family wasn't what they used to be. They were declining now. If they offended Alex, their future would be even worse. I saw the anxiety in Mrs. Joe's eyes. Remembered how when my mom died, she had come to pay respects. How she had held me and cried, feeling sorry for me. I couldn't help tugging at Alex's sleeve. Only then did his expression soften, and he had someone accept the wedding gifts from the elderly couple. While changing into my wedding dress, I got a text from an unknown number. Jenny, congratulations on your wedding. I knew it was Zach. After thinking, I replied with just 2 words, thank you. A while later, another message came from that number. If I had kissed you that day during Truth or Dare, would we still be together? I didn't reply, just deleted and blocked that number too. There are no what-ifs in this world. And I'm so grateful, so thankful, for his foolishness that day. Without that, I wouldn't have felt hopeless enough to study abroad. Wouldn't have agreed to meet Alex. I wouldn't have known that being truly, completely loved could feel like this. Jenny, are you ready? Alex opened the door. I turned to look at him, smiling brightly. All ready.